feel so high. I go alive. I need to be free with you tonight. I need your love. I need your love. Now I'm dreaming, will I ever find you now?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is James Brino from the conference room. My name is James Brino. Tonight we have a very special guest with us tonight. A couple, actually, very special guests. One is Nicholas Brino. The other is Christopher Arndt. And then we have assorted different people like my brother, Andrew Brino, and different things like that. So we're going to go on to our first segment tonight, and that is Today in History. So this is courtesy of History.com. So today, in 1930, the construction of the Hoover Dam begins. Over the next 5 years, a total of 21,000 men would work ceaselessly to produce what would be the largest dam of its time, as well as one of the largest man-made structures in the world. And then we move on to 1777, the Battle of Harbin Dawn. We move on to the Civil War, 1863. Kit Carson's campaign against the Indians begins. The Cold War in 1983. Samantha Smith arrives for her visit to the USSR. Move on to general interest of 1797, the impeachment of Senator Blount. Then we move on to 1941, the U.S. occupies Iceland. And then we go on to World War II, or World War I, excuse me. British Women's Auxiliary Army Corps is officially established. So now we're going to go to some of the current news stories that are happening today. I don't want to keep this I'm going to keep this very brief, so we can get right on to our special guest tonight. So we can. Oh boy. Technical Okay. Okay. Never mind, ladies and gentlemen. That was just some technical difficulties there. But we can move on to Israeli army launches offensive on Gaza Strip. In Jerusalem today, the Israeli army says it has launched an offensive operation against the Gaza Strip to quell rocket attacks, and a Palestinian official says that Israeli airstrikes have wounded at least 9 Palestinians. A Twitter statement from the Israeli army earlier today says Operation Protective Edge is intended to stop the terror Israeli citizens face on a daily basis. Onto the Pope. Bishops must be held accountable for abuse. Pope Francis begs forgiveness Monday in his first meeting with Catholics sexually abused by the members of the clergy, and went further than any of his predecessors by vowing to hold bishops accountable for handling a preborious priest. We move on to 3 bridges blown up in Ukraine near rebel-held city. After Ukrainian forces seized a key rebel stronghold in the east, the major cities of Donetsk and Luhansk could be the next focus for the major fighting. Okay, so that's the majority of things going on in the world today. So we're going to move on to our special guest tonight. His name is Nicholas Brino. Nick, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well, James. Thank you for having me.
So tonight we're going to be talking about something that has been in the news recently a lot, and that is the contraceptive ban or mandate, let's say, of the by the Supreme Court. So I'm just going to show our viewers a little statement summarizing the Hobby Lobby case. So it says here, the court upheld a June 2013 ruling by the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals protecting Hobby Lobby and the Green family from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services mandate. That mandate requires Hobby Lobby and co-founder David and Barbara Green to provide and facilitate against religious convictions for potentially life-terminating drugs and devices in the country's health insurance plan. So this health insurance plan that we're talking about today is the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare as some people would like to call it. So Nick, today I'd like to just get your overall opinion on this ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court.
Sure. First off, I'd like to thank you, James, for having me tonight. It's a real honor. I mean, this whole thing, it's very interesting. It's been in the news a lot. I personally am a registered Republican in the state of Connecticut. I don't consider myself a Tea Party member by any means. I'd like to consider myself centrally located, open to ideas of both sides. But I mean, one of the things that you put in consideration when you think of cases like this, one of the main rulings in the decision was they said that corporations have religious rights and religious freedoms similar to any individual in the United States. And that brings back the Citizens United case as well, a couple years ago about the campaign funding. And corporations have the same rights as individuals. And I mean, under the Bill of Rights, the first, you're free to practice whatever religion or not practice any religion at all. And if these corporations, such as Hobby Lobby, feel that it's against their moral ideals to provide contraception to their workers, then that's their right. And that, I mean, that corporation as a whole has the same freedoms as any individual in the United States.
All right, thank you very much.
The only thing I like to say, though, is you definitely got to be careful, though. You got to be careful. You got to draw a line. It definitely creates a slippery slope. I mean, you see that with a lot of any Supreme Court decision, it creates a slippery slope. And I mean, you could get to the point where a corporation out there says, oh, I don't believe in vaccinations. Does that mean that their employees don't get vaccinations? No, of course not, because that's basic healthcare. So it definitely draws a line. I'm interested to see in the future how far this goes. But it definitely, that slippery slope is there.
So I have a quotation today from a Democratic Senator, Gene Sheehan. It says, today's Supreme Court decision unfortunately jeopardizes basic health care coverage and access to contraception to a countless number of women. And this is actually an article in the National Review by Derek Modoc. And one of the things that he says, he lists a FDA-approved birth control list. And there are 16 things on this list, and it goes on to say that only 4 of these are not going to be covered by Hobby Lobby. What do you feel? So let me just read off a couple of these from this list, and then I will go on, and these are the 4 that are not the owners of Hobby Lobby that are not going to be covered, or that's what they're not going to be covered now. So a couple of them: male condoms, female condoms, diaphragms with spermicides, sponges with spermicides, goes on to birth control pills with estrogen, the combined pill, the mini pill, the extended and continuous use pill, and then other things, implanted rods and things like that. So the 4 that are not going to be used, that are not going to be covered under this new the ruling: the Plan B, the morning after pill, the Ella, a similar type to emergency contraception, a copper intraurinary device, and an IUD with progestin. So those are the 4 contraceptive methods that the owner fears have some influence in abortion. And when we're on the topic of abortion, what do you feel about that?
That's a loaded question. I mean, personally or from a federal standpoint? Because I have differing opinions. I mean, as a practicing Catholic, I am personally against abortion at an individual level. I'm morally against it. I mean, I believe it is like killing. But that's my personal opinion because I am a practicing Catholic, and I mean, the Roman Catholic Church is very open about that. But from a federal standpoint, I don't believe they should get involved. I don't think it's the federal government's or even a state government's right to say, no, you can't do this if that's not against their religion. So I mean, I definitely have conflicting points. I mean, personally, I'm very against abortion, but I mean, at a federal level, I don't think it's their right to say no. But again, I mean, that's just what I feel. I don't know if it's right or wrong. There's people out there that feel very strongly about that, and I accept that. I mean, I know a lot of people do feel strongly that if it's their religion, they don't want anyone to do it. But again, you could maybe call myself a liberal Catholic.
All right, and I have we all know about the 25-page rebut that Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor issued, and we all know that this is something that every Supreme Court justice needs to do if they don't support the court case that is being decided. And this was a 25-page document, a little different than majority of the other ones that they host and put out. And this one's extremely different because the sense that she is extremely disappointed and very angry with the Supreme Court and the what she quotes as, or I'm just kind of restating, the male majority in the court. What do you feel about the male majority in the court and how Sonia Sotomayor took the actual Hobby Lobby case?
I mean, personally, I think they're very professional, all of the Supreme Court justices, and I don't think they would put their gender or what they believe in before what the Constitution says. I believe they're all very professional, and they read the Constitution as needed, and they rule solely on what the Constitution says. So, I mean, I understand Miss Sotomayor's disappointment, because, I mean, she's very left and very democratic. But, again, I wouldn't say that it's just because of the male majority in court. I'm sure she believes, because she has a different view than myself, being a male. But again, I think they all are very professional individuals. There's a reason why they're there. It's because they're the best in the land. And I don't think they'd get anything mixed up with what the Constitution says. They're going to read it strictly from a constitutional standpoint.
Another thing that she added was the court's decision, she added, even undermines confidence in this institution. What do you think that really means?
I think it's just her trying to prove a point that she's right and everyone else is wrong. I mean, of course people are going to say that when they're mad that something didn't go their way, but of course they're going to say that. Of course she's going to say that. She's trying to get people on her side. She's trying to get people support. I mean, technically I know Supreme Court justices don't run, so they don't have to get the public's opinion, but I mean, it's always going to happen.
And another thing that we want to add here is that it was a 5-4 decision on Monday, and I believe that we're going to add Christopher Arndt to the conversation today. Christopher Arndt is going to be a sophomore at University of Central Florida, studying accounting.
How are you today, James?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
I know that you want to add a couple things into this conversation.
Of course. What would you like to ask me, James?
The same thing that I asked Mr. Brino.
And what would that be?
That the court, Sonia Sotomayor said that this decision undermines confidence in this institution. What do you really think she meant by that?
3 words: public relations stunt. That's all it was. And I guarantee in any party who just lost, because it was a majority Republican, a more conservative group. Would you say so, James? Would you agree with that point?
Yeah.
Would you agree with that too, Nick?
Yes, I would.
You would. More conservative. If you were in the minority in that decision, of course you'd say a PR stunt. You don't agree with the decision. That's fine. It's almost an irrelevant quote there, James. No, it's not even worth mentioning.
And we know that there's a 5-4 majority in the Supreme Court on this decision, Brunel versus Hobby Lobby. And what do you believe really is the underlying problem in the Supreme Court in this entire debate?
I personally don't think there's any problem.
No, not a problem. I mean the statement that is being debated here. Is it that the court, that Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act should not...
Hold on, James. Why don't you quickly explain to the viewers a quick summary of what the Affordable Care Act is?
Okay, the Affordable Care Act is, I can actually get an official quotation. But the Affordable Care Act is a nationwide act that helps people that don't have insurance in the United States get insurance, because we know millions of people in the United States don't have health insurance. And now, under the Affordable Care Act, or aka Obamacare, it allows people to get insurance at reasonably low prices and low premiums. And we know a lot of people are angry about this because it has raised some people's insurances, and it has helped millions of people. So we need to really look at the underlying message of helping the greater good of America.
Sure. So to answer your question, the underlying problem or the underlying argument under this whole decision, I believe it comes down to what the differing sides are arguing about is whether or not these corporations have the right to freedom of religion. I mean, in the case, of course, they said that corporations do have, just like individuals in the United States, the right of religion. So they have freedom of religion. And I mean, I think that was the biggest problem is the differing views. I mean, sure, Hobby Lobby probably employs some people that don't agree with Mr. and Mrs. Green's moral ideals. I'm sure there's people that do want contraception that's not being covered. So it comes down to that differing opinion of the corporation as a whole and the individuals. And Mr. Arndt would like to add something.
Well, you know, it's interesting because I mean, I'm just looking at a quick transcript that you gave me before the show, and it's interesting because I did not get a chance to read all the opinions. I just know the decisions and some of the outcomes. But it's interesting because Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor, you know, going off of what Nick just said, believes that the government shouldn't be involved in this problem. And I say to you, well, I mean, what is the government's responsibility in the sense that it should get involved here, the religious right of practicing Catholics like Nick is? I mean, would you agree with that?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, if they can't do that, then what is the primary responsibility of this government? I mean, it's got to protect the beliefs of of all people. I don't care whether you're Catholic. I mean, I'm Greek Orthodox. However, I do agree with this ruling because I'm against that practice. But.
And do you believe that this is a little outrageous? That there are 16 contraceptive methods.
Excuse me, Mr. Brino. May I ask you a quick question?
Go ahead.
Are you for this decision? I mean, what's your opinion on this decision? You never quite got your analysis here.
My opinion on this case, the Hobby Lobby case, I believe that the court did rule in favor, and I really do believe that they chose the right decision in this. Because like both of you are, you're Christian or Catholic or Christian Orthodox, or I'm sorry.
Stick with the Christian, James.
Yeah, Christian. So that I do not believe in abortion, and I think this really helps kind of cap the Obamacare Affordable Care Act decision and mandate on contraceptive methods. So just one question for you. So there are 16 FDA-approved birth control methods, and only 4 were not going to be allowed through this court order. So do you think that this case is a little outrageous that only 4 out of the 16 are not being allowed now?
No, I don't think it's outrageous at all, to be honest. Because the 4 that you read, I mean, the biggest one is the Plan B, the pill, the morning after pill. I mean, that's the most popular one, and I mean that's the biggest one. So I mean, I wouldn't say it's outrageous at all, to be honest. I don't know if Chris, you have something to say.
I just don't think it matters. I agree with what you just said. I mean, there's not much I can add to that. I mean, there's not. I mean, there's nothing I could say. I mean, I have to look into more of those contraceptives. I don't know enough. I'm not a physician, so I mean, I'm not going to touch it. But from a broad standpoint, it doesn't matter.
All right, thank you guys very much. And if you have anything else to add, you may add it now. Do you have any other?
Only thing I'll say here is there's an interesting perspective here with this ruling, and it's more broad, and this decision was very condensed. It wasn't really the Supreme Court did not go as far, and the reason why is it was only a 5-4 majority. There wasn't unanimous support here, so they wanted. A key part to this decision is it only applies to some, not all corporations. Depends on the size. It also it more applies to small businesses, and that's an important thing to state here. And that's what really disappoints me about the Roberts Court, and they keep kicking the can down the line here. And at some point, they're gonna have to make a very broad range decision. It's got to come, because enough with these small last days ago. I mean, come on, let's get to the big picture. Let's really get a good ruling here, and it expands across all businesses, not just a few. That's a way to cop out there, Supreme Court. But other than that, there's a much bigger issue here too, as far as poverty. But I won't get into that. It's a whole other issue.
All right. Well, we may have you on for another night to talk about that. You have anything else to add?
I mean, Chris said it very well. I mean, we have very similar views. But I mean, with any Supreme Court case, this one not being big or significant in the grand scheme of things at all, but there's always going to be that slippery slope. I don't know if we'll see it with this court case at all. To be honest with you, probably not. Because again, I mean, you look at the big court cases throughout history. You think of the Warren Court, and you think of all these other huge courts. but I don't think the Roberts course is going to be. It's going to be one of those. I mean, Chris is completely right.
Yeah, the only ruling that they really had a big. I mean, I'm sure you agree with this. The only ruling they really had a big concern on was as far as the mandate. That's really it.
Yeah, I mean the Obamacare one was the biggest one, but other than that, I mean there's small little ones. Even the gay rights one. I mean you hear about it all the time. I mean they make a big deal about it, but how many years down the road now you completely forget about it.
Everything's by the book, and especially with the. I mean, you had a couple ones as far as EPA, as far as the buffers on around. Health clinics. I mean, it's pretty consistent, and those were all 9-0 majorities, pretty much unanimous support. This one was really the only one so far that had a lot of dissent, I'll say. But another big one too is the search warrant case. That's another one. That's another big case too. So I would say those are the two most notable.
Yeah, I mean Chris is completely right. Again, hopefully we'll see where this goes. We'll see where this goes, and hopefully it doesn't cause too much backlash. Thank you, James.
All right, thank you very much, and I believe that we'd like to wish them great luck in their future endeavors. And now we're going to move on to some other topics, more not useful topics. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. More exciting topics with someone right there, Andrew Brino. So he's going to come over and talk.
I love you, Andrew.
Thank you.
All right, so this is Andrew. He is a little kid, and we want to just hear your opinion on some of this stuff that they're yelling about. So how do you feel about all this yelling?
I think it's outrageous.
Why do you think this yelling is outrageous?
Because I have no idea what they're saying, and they're just like yelling.
All right. And have you learned about the U.S. Constitution and the constitutional system and
Only the
federal
Constitution.
All right.
Not the system.
And actually, a lot of stuff that they were talking about actually have to do with the Constitution and the rights in the Constitution, what it says. So do you know anything about the Constitution? Just list off a couple things that you remember. No, you don't.
Well, oh yeah. Wait, I just forgot.
All right, well that's okay. So one thing that is coming up a lot in the news is sports, and there's an NFL decision. The judge gives preliminary approval. So a federal judge approved Monday a preliminary settlement in a class action lawsuit filed by thousands of former NFL players against the National Football League. And it goes on with neurological exams and things like that. So do you watch football?
No.
Do you watch baseball?
No.
Do you watch any sport?
Yes.
What sport do you watch?
Soccer.
All right. Well, this can go right into soccer because it's European football. So when you see someone being hit in the head with a ball, let's say, or with even a foot, what do you think?
I think that they're being mean. I know it's just an accident, but you should be more careful.
All right. So this actually class action lawsuit they're talking about is a baseline neurological exams including monetary awards for diagnostics, ALS, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, and early and moderate dementia. So do you know what any of that means?
No.
All right. Well, do you have anything else to add to the audience tonight that's listening? Anything to say out to the viewers out there?
Yeah, wait. I just forgot.
All right, well that's okay. So, all right, thank you very much, Andrew, for talking to us today, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
Okay.
All right, goodbye. See you later.
Bye.
So we're gonna be going on to something. All right, so we're gonna be going on to something, and it's going to be hosted. This is a little different. We'll be hosting by Christopher Arndt. He is going to be our guest host today, so he's going to come by where I'm sitting, and he's going to be asking people questions. So just 1 minute. Sorry about this. Mr. Arndt just needs to get into the swing of things.
How are we doing, folks? All right, now we're going to talk a little bit. We have talked about the recent ruling by the Supreme Court about contraceptives. Now it's time to talk into. Let's get into sports. We have a lot of things to talk about here, especially when it comes to the NBA. Big week coming up. I mean, we have two marquee free agents that should sign pretty shortly, LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony. And it's been an ongoing saga. We all, at least from my perspective, I had a feeling LeBron was gonna opt out. When it comes to Melo, look, Melo's leaving a lot of money on the table by leaving New York. If he does, I think the two right now clear-cut favorites for him is between L.A. and New York. It's an interesting debate right there. As far as which team will be better in the long run, I don't even think it's close. I don't think it's close, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's New York. It is absolutely New York. It's not even close because what happens is next year, right now Phil Jackson is doing a marvelous job against Jose Calderon, which I thought was a fantastic trade, and also getting 2 picks. I love early. He's gonna be a stud in this league with what he's doing right now. What could happen next year when they get Andre Bargnani and Amari Stoudemire off? It would clear a ton of money off their books. They can actually work. They can do a couple deals next year, and there's a couple rumors about LeBron maybe coming next year. He signed a 1 or 2 year deal with Miami with an option for the second. I mean, it's gonna be interesting as far as what could happen. I like to call up a special guest right now and bring back Nick Brino, and we'll talk a little sports here.
Thank you, Chris.
In a little while, we'll call up Tyler Royce and get his opinion here too, because we really do have a lot to talk about here, Nick. I mean, you're more of a hockey fan, so I know. Am I correct?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hockey, you're forte. You're a big Ranger fan, correct?
Yes, big Ranger fan.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that recent. Oh, and a quick score update here in the MLB. We got Baltimore, Washington at 2. Kansas City is up on Tampa in the top of the 9th. Atlanta is right now beating the Mets 3-2 in the bottom of the 8th. The Yankees are up 5-2 over the Indians. Chicago is up 4-0 on Boston. The Reds are up 4-1 on the Cubs. Phillies up 3-0 on Milwaukee. San Diego and Colorado are tied. Houston is up 9-2 on Texas. Texas is just not showing up this year. It's unbelievable. That's okay. They have been decimated by injuries. Pittsburgh and St. Louis tie going to the bottom of the 2nd. Miami and Arizona just got going right now. Toronto and the Angels, which will be a good series. I really am. I hate the Angels being a Dodger fan, but I'll tell you what, this team is tough. And we got another great series down in the Bay Area. Big Bay Area rivalry between San Fran and Oakland. That'll be a good series too. And then Minnesota and Seattle close it up at 10-10. Now let's get to the NBA here, Nick.
Sure.
Now, what is your opinion right now? Have you been following LeBron James at all? I mean,
oh yeah, how can you not be following it?
Have you listened to the especially with right now? I was listening to ESPN First Take this morning with Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless. Did you happen to watch it this morning?
No, I did not. No.
Stephen A. Smith's passing along the idea that Chris Bosh, little Chris Bosh, I swear he should be deported somewhere because he looks like he's from Mars. But it's interesting. Right now they're saying that he is the marquee guy. He is the guy right now that is driving the ticket right now as far as whether LeBron will come back.
Sure.
I mean, do you think the Heat should look at getting Chris Bosh back?
First off, I'd like to say all respect to Chris Bosh. He's a good guy. I don't know what Chris is talking about. I feel bad, but I don't know. I mean, Chris Bosh, you don't really think of him. You think of him as the third guy, especially with the big 3 in Miami. He's the third guy.
I mean, he's not taking. I mean, he's not. I like to put it this way. Wade's knees are bummed. I would have said he was the second guy. He didn't but I'll tell you what, Bosh didn't show up in the series against San Antonio. I don't know what they're gonna do here.
I agree. But you're right. I personally, from my perspective, I'm not a huge basketball fan by any means. But
it's hard not to be encompassed in this big story.
Oh, sure, yeah. And I mean, personally, if LeBron wants to have a reputation, I think he should stay in Miami. I mean, you look at the big guys. You look at Michael Jordan. You look at.
But what do they all have, Nick? What do they all have?
They all stay on one team. They're all associated with one team. They all have rings.
Bingo. That's what LeBron James wants right now. I don't think it matters what team. I think it matters what rings he has.
I don't know. You think of the great sports players.
He wants to be holding up more than Kobe's got. He wants that 6. He doesn't want that 5.
Of the great sports players in the history of any sport, they all stick with one team. There's one team that keeps in mind.
Oh yeah, in your hockey role, I'm gonna throw a guy at you right now.
All right, you can't talk about Gretzky. That's
Why not?
That's different.
Absolutely, Wayne Gretzky. Oilers, Kings, Rangers. I mean, come on now.
But hockey's a little bit different.
Why?
All right. If you look at these big teams, Michael Jordan, what do you think of? The Bulls.
Absolutely.
All right. Bill Russell, what do you think of?
Celtics.
There you go. You think of these teams. You think Kobe Bryant. What do you think
Lakers.
of? Exactly.
But I also think Kobe Bryant is. When you say Kobe Bryant, I think 5 rings. I think Los Angeles Lakers. I think the big picture of Hollywood. But you know what? It also comes down to a couple of Kobe Bryant. You know, he's got. I love Kobe. I hate the Lakers. I love Kobe Bryant. He was great for the game. But you know what? I also think of the baggage, too, with Kobe Bryant. Him and Phil Jackson. I mean, ever since Phil, he's had his issues with coaches.
Yeah.
He signed this ridiculous deal thanks to one Jim Buss, who's an absolute joke as an owner.
Rest in peace.
Oh, that's Jerry Buss.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Oh, it's not like
But
father.
anyways, again, like I was getting back to you, think of these great players in any sport. Derek Jeter, what do you think of? New York Yankees.
Absolutely.
Nolan Ryan, what do you think of?
Everything. Texas
No,
Rangers.
you think of the Rangers. I
Yeah.
know he's been on a couple teams, but it's definitely the Rangers. Pete Rose,
Reds.
Reds. There you go. So, I mean, I think of these great players, and you think of one team that they stay on. You don't see them hopping around from team to team like bench warmers or scrubs do.
But this is a new league in the NBA. This is a new time. I mean, it's all. I disagree for the notion it's all about the rings, because the players want money. LeBron James has been that clear. Look, he hasn't been the highest paid player. And, I don't know if you heard that, but he hasn't been the highest paid player on any team he's been on so far.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's time for him to get his due. Frankly, the salary cap issue is a whole other issue, and that's a whole other ballgame. But the salary cap's it's absurd. It is blasphemous how the salary cap is in NHL and the NBA. Now, that's a whole other debate, because I think LeBron James should be getting paid. He should get paid $350 million for all I care. He is box office. The amount of money he made for the Miami Heat and himself is ridiculous. Now, I mean, anyway, that's a whole other issue. NHL, I mean, would you agree? How much do you think Sidney Crosby's going to be paid?
He should be getting paid a lot more than what he has now. But you know what, though? The whole point of the salary cap is to keep the league competitive. And I think the NHL did it very well. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, this is a personal opinion, but I think the NHL playoffs are one of the best. Definitely up there.
Oh, absolutely, but so is the NBA.
I agree, but I mean, again, you've had debates about whether these big three or these teams with star studs, if that's good for the league or if it's bad, because you know which team is going to make it. The NHL, on the other hand, you never know who's going to win. I mean, who would have guessed that the Rangers would have made it to the Stanley Cup this year?
Absolutely nobody. I mean, they had. I mean, as far as I'm not. I wouldn't consider myself the biggest hockey fan in the world, but I would say the Rangers, to me, the Eastern Conference of hockey is it wasn't as bad as the NBA, but it had its issues. I mean, it was not the Western Conference. I know you're a Ranger fan, and I understand that, but there was no team except for the Boston Bruins I thought could take down any team in the West. I thought the Chicago Blackhawks had it this year. I really did. Now, the Kings shocked me. I liked it. I mean, you're not a big fan of the Kings. I remember you used to allude to that before. Am I correct?
Sure, yeah.
I mean, you're not. I mean, ever since their run, I mean, I remember I was for them when the year after they won, and you were not, and it just didn't work out. But I mean, as far as this year, I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting a Western Conference run. And by the way, Cleveland just put up a run. It's 5-3 in the bottom of the 8th right now. The Yankees still up by 2. But anyway, back to the discussion. Anyway, back to the discussion. Yeah, it's an interesting talk right now as far as. But I will say the NHL is becoming. I don't know if you'll agree with this. It is becoming less. It's becoming more polar as far as who wins. I mean, you have the Kings 2 of the last 4 years. You have the Blackhawks. The Rangers are consistently there in the Eastern Conference around there. The Bruins are there. I mean, next year. I mean, do you see it changing? I mean, do we see a change in power here? I mean, I don't see it coming.
I don't know. I mean, the teams will be there. The good teams will always be there, such as the Penguins and of course, the Blackhawks and the Kings. But again, I mean, you definitely have. How often do you see an 8 seed go and win it all? back when the Kings won last time.
I'll give you that in the NBA. You'll never see
You'll
that.
never see an 8 seed in the
I mean,
NBA.
you saw the Mavericks take the Spurs to 7 games, but you won't see that again.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. I don't think you'll see that again. At least in the Western Conference in NBA is so it's ridiculous. I mean, you're right. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's so tough. I mean, it's almost like the NHL where it's just it's tough to get out of there. I mean, it's what the problem with the Lakers right now. I mean,
Oh yeah.
It's tough for any team to get into that mix. But see, here's why I disagree, because I look at Major League Baseball, and the fact that they don't see. I agree with the way they do business, because I don't like the salary cap. And look, I know we're gonna get into a whole other issue, and I really don't want to cover it, but we can glance over it really quickly, and that's these small market teams, Tampa Bay, Oakland is always there, and I am sold on them this year, Nick. It is happening. They will be in the World Series.
Just like every year?
You know what? Jeff Samardzija, that was a great addition, because Billy Beane made one move that goes out of his system. Now they need hitting.
Let's be a little cautious with Samardzija. I know he had a good game against the Blue Jays.
All I'll say is,
but you got to be
the
cautious.
guy should be 9-2 right now. That's how I see it.
All right, we'll see.
I mean, the Cubs are a joke. That's all I'm gonna say. Chicago fans, you should go cry and put your boxes on over your head, because it's ridiculous how bad the Cubs are. They're pretty pathetic. But all right, let's bring in Tyler Royks here. Let's bring him in for a little NBA talk. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Nick, for joining us. We'll have some NHL talk over the next couple of years. We have a lot of free agent signings. No snow. I mean, we gotta.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome. How are you doing, Tyler? Tyler, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Welcome to the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mr. Guest Judge. Guest host.
I wish I was a judge. I could be the judge, jury, and executioner if you want me to be. So let's get to a little basketball talk, because I know you'd consider yourself a Warriors fan. I know that you're obsessed with that town. Yeah, absolutely. Now, how do you see the LeBron saga ending here? Is this going to be a happy-go-lucky finish for Miami, or is it going to be a return back home for Cleveland, or are we going to see another team here step into the picture here? Me being a Clipper fan, Tyler, I'm trying to get them in. I'm trying here. I'm trying to get them in the picture.
I'm sorry, but it's just not going to happen for your Clippers.
No, I know. I know. I'm still grieving over Spencer Downs. I'm trying to figure that one out. Oh, Jordan Farmore, man. I don't understand. But you know what, the Warriors too. I'm waiting for this Kevin Love deal to go through, and I'm not seeing it.
I think it'll eventually happen. At some point, they're going to come to a deal. It's just a matter of time.
So you don't see him going to Cleveland?
Who?
Kevin Love.
Kevin Love? No, I don't see it happening. At the end of the day, I think the Warriors. It's just a matter of whether they want to give up Klay Thompson.
Now, what do you think about this McRoberts and Granger deal with Miami? I think it's just to patch a couple roster spots. I think it means nothing.
Honestly, I don't really get it. Right now, I think they'd like to save as much cap room as possible, but I mean, paying Josh McRoberts almost $6 million a year, I think it's a little too much. I think they're wasting a little bit of money right now, but I think they're just trying to do whatever they can to pitch to LeBron that they're trying. But
I was gonna say, maybe Pat Riley knows it's useless right now. I don't think we're getting anything with Patty here. I mean, I've knocked Pat Riley ever since that news conference. I thought it was a big mistake, calling out LeBron James. LeBron James sitting back in his chair and saying, "Oh, you're talking to me. Who do you think you're talking to, Mr. Pat Riley? I understand Pat's got the rings, but you know what? LeBron's got the rings too."
You know what? So that's Pat Riley. With how long he's been in this business, he can do whatever the hell he wants.
I agree with that to a certain point, but when you're trying, he made the emphasis on, I'm not going to try and get out to him, and yet they schedule a meeting. But what's going on here? He said he wasn't going to pitch out to LeBron James. I'm not liking what I'm hearing here. I am liking. We had reports by Chris Broussard and Brian Windhorst as far as Cleveland. What do you think? Do we have anything in Cleveland here? Can we return back home? LeBron James back to Cleveland, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, it was reported that his agent met with a bunch of teams, the Cavs included. I think at the end of the day, LeBron's going to wake up and realize that he's just not going to do anything with that Miami team. Whether it's,
I don't think I can find
Wade and Bosch back, which I think probably will both end up happening. But a little up in the air. I just think at the end of the day, LeBron's going to realize he can't do much, even in the Eastern Conference. I think he's going to end up going back to the Cavs. I think he's going home.
Now, Now, can they win in Cleveland? That's the key. I think they're the best team in the East.
Maybe not right away. I'm not sure they can get quite over the hump. They can probably compete in the Eastern Conference, maybe get to the finals immediately. But long term, 3-4 years down the line, when Wiggins has developed, hopefully Kyrie's kind of established himself and he's staying healthy.
That is true. I agree with that, Kyrie.
Anthony Bennett, Deion Waiters, down the line.
Anthony Bennett can get it. He can go stick his head in down in something, because he needs to get the hell out of here. I'll tell you that. Anthony Bennett's a joke. I don't think he'll ever produce.
Once these young guys develop, I think they're going to be the team in the East.
$5 million in the books. That's what Anthony Bennett's wasting right now. That's what he's doing. I do agree with your assessment on the Cleveland Cavaliers, though. I think they're a tough team, especially in the Eastern Conference. I mean, if you look down the line right now in the Eastern Conference, who else can match them? The Pacers, goodbye. Time for you to go. You've had your run. So it's time to say goodnight.
The Pacers, I mean, they're a decent team. They can win games in the regular season, but when
they
it comes to the big time, they just can't do it.
And the Bulls, I don't see it. I don't think Derrick Rose can come back. I don't think
maybe
the Bulls.
maybe if Melo goes there, but I don't see that happening.
No, I don't see that happening either. I just don't see how on earth the Bulls will compete next year for a championship. I'm getting sick and tired of all this speculation. Even with Derrick Rose back, they still only one scorer.
I mean, there's still a great defensive team. Tom Thibodeau is a great coach, but at the end of the day, they just can't score.
Absolutely not.
Derrick Rose.
It's pathetic.
I'm kind of.
I think I'd rather watch a nail dry than watch them play. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's awful.
Well, that's a little bit of an exaggeration.
I don't know. I mean, the Bulls. Hey, goodbye. You're no longer the 1990 Bulls. I'll tell you that. Now let's get to as far as Miami, their roster. Say LeBron James goes to Cleveland. All right, say LeBron. I'm saying we only have 1 minute here, so we're gonna have to breeze through this here. We'll touch on two topics. I want to get your opinion on baseball real quick too. So let's talk about quick notion. How are the Heat next year? Give me a quick 5-second opinion. Where are they in the Eastern Conference? Are they making the playoffs?
6 seed-ish. I mean, they're still a decent team.
Do they keep Bosh?
Yeah, I think he's gonna end up staying.
Okay, now let's get to some baseball. Because I know you're. I mean, let's talk American League as far as the top 2 teams right now. In my opinion, as far as playing in the American League East, the American League. The American League East is a joke this year. To me, it's Oakland and Anaheim. It's ridiculous. Anaheim has really come on strong this year, and I'd be afraid of them right now because Albert Pujols is looking like the old Albert Pujols. It's pretty amazing what the turnaround he's done. I don't know what's your opinion on that.
Right now, the top 2 teams in the AL. I would agree with you, Oakland and Anaheim. At the same time, I don't think either one of those teams is going to do anything in the playoffs if they make it. I think the Samardzija trade is a little bit overblown.
Okay. Now let's talk a little National League too. I mean, National League we have much. Well, the National League we have much more. It is pretty open. We have the Dodgers right now, right? That's sitting. I mean, one of the best teams in baseball in the past month, and as far as the big four right now in the NL Central, I mean. As far as the big four is the Pirates, Brewers, Cardinals, and Reds right now. The Reds are red hot. What do you think? Who's coming out of that division?
That division, I think at the end of the day, the Brewers, with their fast start, they're going to end up holding on at the end of the season.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Tyler Royks, and thank you, Nicholas Brino. And this is Sports Talk with Christopher Arndt. Now back to James Brino.
Thank you very much. I hope you guys all enjoyed that tonight. That was a special guest appearance by Christopher Arndt. So now we're going to the 7-day forecast. This is a 7-day forecast for Central and Western Connecticut. So let me just pull it up right here. 7-day forecast. Tuesday is the high of 91, low of 86. Wednesday, partly cloudy with a chance of showers. Wednesday is 89, high, 85 low. Chance of showers all day. We go to Thursday, high 85, low 83, cloudy, partly cloudy. Friday is going to be 86, and then low of 84, which is Friday. Partly cloudy. Saturday is partly cloudy with high of 87, low of 85. Sunday is partly cloudy with a chance of scattered thunderstorms, 86 and low of 83. Monday is scattered showers and thunderstorms, 84, low 82. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching the conference room with James Brino with special guest Christopher Arndt, Nick Brino, Tyler Royks. and Andrew Brino. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Again, please stay safe. And again, I need all of you to remember that this is a talk show, and we always love to have people on. So if you'd like to be on our talk show, please just tune in, and then what you can do is just email me, james.brino@live.com. Again, this is james.brino@live.com. Again, this is a conference room. My name is James Brino. Have a wonderful night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Thank you very much.